I have good news for you today. Oh goodness, isn't it good to be back? Man. So I'll tell you what, you guys are responsible for this. I had received such an outpouring of support that so many of you were enjoying the progress and to the pace of things and to continue doing the way they're doing it, that that's exactly what we're going to do. The detractors, they can go watch something else, but you know what? I enjoy making videos this way, and it's not about the end project. I know I hate to keep beating this dead horse, but it's about the experience of what it's like, bringing you guys along in the shop and working at a pace that I enjoy working at, and creating videos at a pace that I enjoy creating. And the thing that I guess I got from all of you who commented in this tremendous outpouring of support was, do what you want to do. It's your channel. Do what you like to do. It doesn't matter what the content is. And I appreciate that. It really helped me refocus on that. So today, we're gonna have a good time today. So we're gonna see what can we do to waterproof this material. We're dealing with some big heavy timber, some Doug fir. Some people were concerned that this was going to be rot, but actually Doug fir back in the day was the best, well, next to cedar, but was one of the best materials to use for fence posts because it lasts so long. Now I'm talking about the bigger stuff cut from bigger trees is very rot resistant. And this is exactly that, but there's a few things that we can do that can really help that. I'm going to show you something you've probably never seen before. Very few people know about this, but it's a trick we're going to try for the post, the ground contact, and it'll be interesting to see how it works out. But first thing we're going to need to do is to melt some beeswax. All right, man, this is going to be fun. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make our own secret, it's not going to be very secret, I'm going to share it with you, secret mixture of protectant using boiled linseed oil and real natural beeswax. So I've got my wood-fired blacksmith forge here. Is a really good tool in the shop for melting the wax. So let's get a little fire going here. I'll just shave off a little bit here. So I got a new camera. I shoot most of my videos on a Canon 70D, and I've had 3 of those. I've broken 2, and then I broke the third one. Messed up too. The audio wasn't working. I lost a lot of shots in the last 10 videos or so because of audio issues. So I just got the new one, the 80D, which I'm using here now. And the last video I did, the audio was terrible because I didn't have the microphone hooked up right. But I got everything hooked up now, so it should be nice and crystal clear. So when I'm doing firewood, I keep all the little scraps and things that fall down, like under your splitting block and around, and I put them in boxes. After they sit and dry out for a while, little pieces of bark and all that, they're so good for the blacksmith forge. So I just keep all these boxes here. That's what we're using here today. These little few shavings off the floor there. This wood so dry it should just go right up. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this or not, but our mailman, his name is Joey. He's actually been a subscriber for years. He does bushcrafting, and he's always he's coming by and showing me his latest knife and different things. And so he said that we should not rush the mailbox build. And he's the mailman. So he said, do it right. I've been watching the videos. I'm looking forward to it. You take as long as you need to do it the way you want to do it. So there you have it. We have it on authority that the timber frame mailbox series is just the right amount of time. Oh, I better get my knife out of there. That's not a good place for that. Ow, that's hot. That's a bad idea. Oh, I just love this forge. If you're looking for a forge, I've got these in my Amazon store. They're made locally here by a very wonderful family business, the Whitlocks. Met them many times. And this is the big one. They make a little one if you have limited space, you don't have a lot of property, and you don't need something really big. They make one that's half the size that you can do some really nice work with. You don't need anything special, just a little few pieces of scrap wood. especially if you have kids, to go out and make some little projects or get into blacksmithing. It doesn't cost anything. You can go to, if you live near a city, there's lots of used steel scrap yards. They're all over the place. You look around, you can go out there and pick up for $20, $30, you can buy all the scrap metal to last you for a long time. So we don't need a tremendous amount of heat. I mean, we just need a little fire in there to get this wax melted. We're going to do a mixture, kind of a concoction of boiled linseed oil and beeswax. The beeswax, I've been using it now for a couple of years with the boiled linseed oil, and I wouldn't put it so much on hand. Well, I might put it on hand tools. It makes it kind of sticky, but you don't want to put very much beeswax in there. I don't know exactly the ratio. I would say it's even less than 4 to 1, probably more like 8 to 1. But it just seems to bind in there and to put a kind of a nice waxy sheen on the outside of things that are exposed to the weather that holds up really well. So we don't want to overcook our wax there. We'll just let that sit there and just melt down quite a little bit slower. I'll go grab a container that we can use to mix up our linseed oil. All right, so our wax is melted nicely. This can here was in my granddad's stuff. That's an old Maxwell House can, coffee can. He used to keep his nails in it. So that was his, and then this pot here belonged to my grandmother. I got 2 of these from her, some sort of aluminum cooking pot that has must have had a handle that went on there. But I don't have a handle, but I like this because it's a nice size. It heats up quick, but this is what I mix my linseed oil and my beeswax in. I've always kind of wanted a handle, so I have got this little thing here that I use for kind of stirring things around. Let's just put a quick bend in it, and I think that'll just make a nice little, perfect little handle for it. I wish you guys could smell this, what it smells like with the, I mean, there's just nothing better than the melted natural beeswax and the wood smoke. Oh yeah, this will make a great handle there, a dual purpose tool. The original multi-tool here. What's wrong with that? So there's a little residual of wax down there. It's not a lot, but I usually I mix up what I'm going to use. And I don't know how well this would store. I don't know once you bind the two if it stores well. So I only mix up what I need. We'll just do a little bit there. If we need more, we'll just keep this on the burner here, right? And then we can just mix up a little bit more. But I'm just going to, you saw about how much I poured in there, right? This is not scientific. We'll just put a little bit of beeswax in there, not too much. And you got to keep this, you got to keep it warm. It's got to be applied warm also because it will wants to separate. So that's another reason why I guess you don't want to mix up too much. But we'll let that, you already see that linseed oil was cold when I put it in there, and that solidified the wax. So we'll just let it sit here and put a little heat on it. And this will all bind together. You know, I really like learning about these old techniques and the way they did things. You know, the one thing, I guess the common thread that runs through all of them with the old timers, the way they worked was they weren't wasteful with anything. And I think that it was, I mean, not strictly because they were environmentally conscious. I mean, we know that was not always the case. But it took a lot of effort to get this material. It took a lot of effort to chop down a tree by hand, process it into timbers. And when you had little pieces left over, like we have here, these little scraps and such, nothing, you just didn't have you couldn't let things go to waste. It just took too much energy to get this wood into the shop where it's at. So you see how they weren't wasteful. It was very practical. They were very pragmatic about it. And I like one thing I really like about the Whitlock's forge is that to have the ability to take things like this that we would normally just consider don't have any value and throw away, to be able to utilize them in a way to generate, you know, the heat to melt the wax, or you could even blacksmith with them. It's from the wood chips that I use for starting fires to the sawdust that I use in the mulch garden beds or for soaking up oil spills. It's all those things. So that tree that was cut down to make this, it just continues to be used. Every bit of it continues to be used, and I like that. All right, let's see how this is going to look on here. So to apply this, I'm just going to, you can use anything you want to. I'm going to use the foam brushes work really good, so I have several. Look at that. Look at it. Oh man, that is, look, the wood loves it. It soaks it, it just immediately soaks it in. What's prettier than that? That's why I tell you that Doug fir is just the neatest stuff. Oh, that's pretty. I mean, what could be better than that? It's not over the top, it's not busy, it's just classic and clean and beautiful. See, we've got these cracks here. You know, those are going to be egresses for, of course, for water. We don't have an insect problem here, so that's not a concern. But see how that wax binds with that linseed oil, gets in there, and it really fills that up. It really, it's good, and the ratio seems to be pretty good. I can feel the wax cooling. It solidifies a little bit as it's going in. You can seal around there. I might have put a little bit too much wax in there, but it's not going to hurt anything. So remember at the start of the video I told you that I was going to show you something that you probably haven't seen before. This is not it. I'm not quite ready to do it yet, but I'm willing to bet that there may be 1 out of 100,000, maybe 1 out of 1,000,000 that actually know about this. Nice to have the pot where I can carry it along with me. I can be very liberal on my application here and catch the dribbles there on the bottom, so we're not wasteful. It really gets into those cracks nicely. Now, if I haven't mentioned this already, we're going to leave the lower portion of the post there. We're not going to coat that yet. We're going to do something completely different. So once I get everything coated, I'll take a cotton terry cloth rag or something and work everything in with my hand. Now, the mixture is pretty good. It's maybe a little bit heavy on the wax side, but it's okay. But what it does is it kind of keeps that beeswax in suspension, where you can see that it's drying and it's definitely kind of coagulating, but it's also, you can simply just cover it even after it's cold like it is now. It's a very cold day, and it smooths out very nicely. And this just kind of burnishes everything in and pushes the rag, pushes it into the crooks and crannies and smooths everything out. It's actually quite lovely. So the beeswax linseed oil is all fine and good for exterior, but now we got to deal with the ground contact, meaning the part of the post that's going to be in the ground, and that's really a difficult thing to seal up. So what's been done for years on telephone poles, and if you go look at them, you'll see on many of them, at least in our area, that just right above ground level is a little plug. And that little plug is removed, and there's a guy that's job, or a woman, that goes around and fills all of those holes with a mixture called creosote, which is what they preserve railroad ties with. And that's what they do. And it's worth it to the power companies, the utility companies, to pay someone to do that, then to make the poles last longer, so that they don't have to put as many in. So we're going to do something on that with using that principle and concept. I haven't done this before, but I think it's a wonderful idea. So I've got in my bit and brace here, I've got probably about a 5/8 bit. I would say anything, it doesn't matter, anywhere 1/2 inch to 3/4 would be just fine. And what we're going to attempt to do here is to drill a hole down at an angle into this post, being sure that we're above ground level. So I'm going to estimate that my ground level is probably going to be somewhere around here. If it's a little bit higher, that's just fine. And we'll see if we can't, with a bit and brace, drill a very steep angled hole. So to start this, we'll go down, get into the wood, and then slowly rotate our bit down until we get the angle that we want, which is going to be really sharp. Remember how I told you it was really important when you're buying your bit and brace to make sure you have one that has this ratcheting feature like this? This is a perfect example. Wouldn't be able to go near as deep in that without the ratcheting feature. This is where we started the bit for the hole. Now if we look at this, went all the way into the chuck, we can see that that drill bit went in an angle something like this. That hole is running all the way down there, maybe 10 inches or so shy of the bottom of the post. All right, so now we've got to make a little plug for our hole. So I've just got a little piece of, just a little billet of fur there we chipped off for one of the mortises, and my second favorite axe or hatchet, the little mini, is it the Kuba or something? The little Graham Force Brooks hand hatchet. Man, I love it. I think those, I'll check and see on my Amazon store if those are in there at wranglermart.com. If you want a gift for a loved one, if they're kind of an outdoorsy type of person, you get them something like this. They will, it'll be a very nice gift. That's something, boy, I know I would be happy to receive one. I know a lot of people that would. Wonderful, wonderful little tool. So we want our plug to fit pretty tight. You can just use our pocket knife here and just make sure it's somewhat it's going to be weatherproof. Smooth out the rough edges. It's a great pocket knife. A couple of you asked what it is. This was a knife that was sent to me by CRKT, a local company, Columbia River Knife and Tool, that I was, in a previous video I had complained about, getting how ridiculous these pocket knives are getting, these so-called tactical knives and these enormous things and overbuilt and just ridiculous, that I was tired of it and thought it was silly. My granddad carried a little 3-blade charade old-timer around his whole life. I started carrying that. I still have his last one and the one that he had right before he passed away, and I've been carrying that around, and this one, and I like it so much better. It's thin in the pocket. It's not too bulky. It's got a wonderful blade for digging out slivers or splinters or whatever you want to call it. I guess slivers and splinters is kind of a regional term, like creek and crick. I always get corrected on that. I think we would call it slivers. Slivers. I don't know. I say it so naturally, I don't really think about it until someone calls me on it. So this should fit in there nice and tight like that. I want to leave a little bit of a plug on there so we can get a hold of it and pull it out. I like to leave it square on the top. That way, if I have to, I can get a pair of pliers on it, or anything to crescent wrench to work it back out. That'll be nice. All right, we get to use our Japanese saw. It's a little big for this project here, isn't it? But I'm going to I'll do a video on this saw. We'll try it out together and see how it works. But yeah, I can tell you right now, it's pretty awesome. That's a big saw for doing nice, delicate work. Isn't that nice? That's cool there. I like that.